Regular meeting of the Committee of the Whole for July 23rd, 2026. We'll call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to call roll.
Councilmember Smith,
Present.
Councilmember Stallings,
Present.
Councilmember Marsh,
Here.
Councilmember Crabtree,
Here.
Councilmember Hughes,
Here.
Councilmember Martin,
Here.
Councilmember Sumner, Councilmember Meek,
Here.
Councilmember Bogard,
Present.
Councilmember Velez,
Here.
Councilmember Bell,
Here.
Councilmember Dowd.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, if you're able, please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item 4, approval of the minutes from our June 18th, 2026 regular meeting.
Motion. Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Item 5, administrative matters. We got a presentation from Surface and Stormwater Utility, Mr. Steve Bourne.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. I've already been spoken to about the length of this. I'll try to go through it quickly, but if you do have any questions, please stop me and ask. First thing I just want to do is introduce some of our board members that are here. Dave Fernandez, Diane Croney-Turner, Chuck Crabtree, and Mr. Steve Underwood. I don't believe Michael is here, or is Kelly Workman. We also have 2 of my staff members, Kimberly Allen and Gayla Crisp. Right now, we have some active projects, and we'll just go down through quickly these, but we bought out 14 homes. We completed some work on Springline Drive. We're looking at Park Avenue, Adams Avenue, Aaron McNeil, Circle Drive, Skyline Park, 3 dams, spillway repairs, 4 lake repairs, the RFQ for engineering services for roadway drainage and natural drainage, local buyout program, flood gauge warning system, river cleanout, Hat Avenue, Davin Drive, Fairway Court, and miscellaneous basin repairs. And that is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $2 to $2.5 million of projects that you're looking at. We just talked a little bit. The state comes in and monitors our lakes every year. One of the things they've always pointed out is we had not done a slope stability analysis. We did that, and all of our lakes passed. That information has been submitted to the state, and the state has reviewed it and incorporated it into our reports. And again, it cost us $69,000. We put that there because the other bid we had were in the neighborhood of $300,000 to do that. So we felt like we got a pretty good deal on this. The watershed, lake, dams, spillway repairs, a lot of things that we are looking at now were damaged during the heavy rains we had last year. And we applied for FEMA grant funding assistance for that. The FEMA has visited the site, and basically we are currently under review for that. And they have conditionally approved some grant funding for this particular repair of these projects. And we'll see a little bit more about those later. And we're also looking at, again, the state of Kentucky comes down and reviews the dams every year. And there's a list of things that we have to do in order to maintain a good rating with the state. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later as well. Spillway repairs, estimated work, $756,170. That's for 3 projects. And this is some of the work. Lake Bly is underway. That was the most expensive. And this is where the auxiliary spillways blew out during those heavy rains. You have two spillways. One is in the valve stem, but then you have an auxiliary emergency spillway that protects the actual dam itself. But this is some of the work being done at Lake Bly, Work done at Lake Morris, $63,000. And then spillway repairs at Lake Tandy. I think that made Facebook. I think a lot of people saw that last year on Facebook, but that was $195,000. The state monitoring repairs, the estimated cost is $629,000. We have, for 4 lakes, we bid this out already, so that's a firm number. The repairs won't start until August 1st because we had to wait till bat season was over. Bat season is from May 15th to July 31st. And so we didn't want to interfere with the reproductive habits of the bats out there. So we're waiting till August 1st. Some of the programs that we've instituted, we launched our floodproofing program for residential units. We have the application is on the website, and if anybody wants to visit the website and look at that, they're more than welcome. We also, at the insistence of you all as well as our board members, we have launched our Facebook and Instagram page in August of 2025, and we tried to provide some details of what we're doing and how we're doing those projects. A lot of things that we do on a daily basis, most of the public do not see. So we are trying to get that out to show everyone exactly what we are doing and how we are doing it. And so these are some of the posts that are on the website. This is Rotary Park, some of the work that we did at Rotary Park. Again, the floodproofing program. So when the utility was created, we were given some responsibilities, and that was to address flooding on the North Fork, flooding on the South Fork, major drainage problems, remedial drainage problems, stormwater phase 2, which was an unfunded federal mandate, and we were given $3 per ERU to do that work. That has not increased since 2006. So we're still operating under the same fee that we had adopted in 2006. The reason for that is we've got a lot of grant money. We've probably received over $13 million worth of grant money that we've used the ERU amounts to leverage that grant money. And we're not suggesting today that we are wanting a rate increase. We're still operating under that particular rate that we have. Perpetual maintenance, we have 11 stormwater basins around town. If you see a black fence, chain link fence, that's usually ours. We have taken over 4 of the basins from the city, and so now we're up at around 15. We're mowing about 126 lots or 60 acres. And that cost of that is about $111,000 a year just to mow those basins and lots. We have the 4 watershed dams. We have to mow 4 times a year, which is $20,000. The flood gauges, if you go on our website, you'll see a little icon that says flood gauges. We're partnering with USGS for that service. You can go on the website, see the rainfall amounts, and see how the rivers are being affected by the rain. And then log jams, currently we've allocated $89,000 to remove about, I think, 14 log jams. Lake maintenance, again, these are beautiful assets that the city has. Some of the standards, just to remind you, we designed for the 100-year flood event, which is a federal standard, part of the FEMA flood insurance policy. And that's a 1% probability of it occurring in any given year. It's a probability and not a frequency. The work that we do must be done on an easement. We cannot do work on private property without an easement. And we cannot relocate a problem from one person to another or one property to another. So we have to make sure that we are addressing issues all the way to the point of discharge, which is usually the river. We are trying to look at the cost, benefit, and we want it to pay for itself. The work that we do pay for itself within 2 events, and we do not pay for easements on affected property owners. Projects, over 50 projects have been completed. We have 9 engineering studies in progress. Log jams, we have 20 in total, and this will give you an idea of how much those are. The jail, 4,500. Larimore Bridge, which is 7,500. South Riverwood, 4,750. West 7th Street, 19,000. That may seem like a lot, but there was about 7 of them, all located in that particular area. Remedial projects, again, basin repairs, removal of trees and limbs, ditch repairs, drainage structure repairs. And this is some of the work that we did at Rotary Park, Pardue Lane. A lot of people, I didn't realize this, but the stormwater utility actually bought the property at Pardue Lane. That was a purchase that we made. We also, if you recall, that property was quarantined for histoplasmosis, and we actually brought in the leading expert, Dr. Ted Pass, out of Morehead State University to test the site. There were 4 hot spots on that site. We remediated those sites. The utility remediated those sites, and basically then went and put those 2 basins you see on that and leveled that site out. So there was a significant amount of work done. And another significant contribution was Lynn Reeves, who was a landscape architect that did the conceptual plan for that particular property for your park. We cleaned out the ditch at Carriage Way. This is Irish Circle, phase 1. One of the problems downtown is it's fairly flat and it's hard to get a ditch that doesn't retain water. So we have basically concreted a flume through the middle of this basin in order to make sure that water drains off during heavy rainfalls. We also worked on Waddell, put in a safety gate over a grate over the end outlet at a cost of $21,000, and redid the valve mechanism there so that it will work. The Glass Avenue basins, both on the north side and south side, we worked on those at a tune of about $136,000. And then we did some work on Glass Avenue. This is, again, a Glass Avenue basin repair, some of the work that we've done. Oriole Drive, we completed that project at $160,000. We had to relay the pipes on Sanderson because they were laid in the wrong direction. They were pointed upstream. They should have been pointed downstream. So we had to go through and relay all the pipes, and that's where that work came from. We've done some work on Ivy Lynn and Shallow Lake. Again, a lot of this stuff was tore up during the heavy rains at 19.5. The buyouts, we purchased 14 properties. 138 Donna, 137 Donna, 408 Riverwood, 214 Donna Drive, 202 Donna, 212, 206, 200, 142, and 140, and 123 Villa Court, 202 Dell, 826 Bell, 113 Villa. And the reason I'm showing you those is that we had, because of these grants were applied back in 2016, 2017, And the price, the houses appreciated to a point where the utility had to pay about $350,000 to make up the difference in the cost of the homes from 2016 to 2024, 2025. Spring Mine, this is part of the Woodmont detention basin, and we had to regrade some of the work there. The water was standing in this area. It wasn't making it to the basin at 19.9. Drainage basin repair. Again, our basins that we have around town were damaged during the rainfalls, and we're spending about $50,000 now to repair those. Fayette, and Country Club, Tanglewood, Morningside, and Irish Circle. And this is some of the work that you see. Every March, we fly over the Little River and pick out the biggest log jams. And I'll just show you that log jam removal is fairly expensive. And we're paying about $80,000 for those log jams I just showed you. And there's other log jams that people are calling in that we are addressing. And then our budget for the upcoming year, we're making a comparison from last year, and we would request that you all put this on the agenda for the next city council meeting. I did go through that fairly quick. I know you have a long agenda. I don't mean to rush. If you have any questions or any things that I have mentioned that you want to go into further detail, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you have. And we'll open it up for questions.
Questions? No? Need a motion to forward their budget to council.
Motion. Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion on that?
Just had
Yes, sir.
one question that came to my mind while Mr. Bourne was speaking, and I'm sorry I forgot to ask this the other day. With regards to the Commonwealth, what is the authority that you're responsible to? Who comes and makes those inspections you were talking about?
Division of Water.
Water, okay, gotcha. Thank you.
They have a dam safety expert that comes down and walks the sites. And then they give us a booklet of things that we need to address, and that's what we have.
Yeah, sure.
That's what we're paying for.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Last year, we had asked questions
yeah.
in regards to the mapping of the drainage systems around town. Where are we at on that? Are we progressing? Do we have a plan?
We did that out for natural drainage ways and road drainage ways. To do that type of study was going to cost us $800,000. The board felt like that was too much money for that type of plan. I have met with Mike Perry, and Mike and myself are going to try to locate what we are referring to hotspots, and then have site-specific engineering done on those hotspots.
Going forward, how do you plan to identify and maintain these? It's easy for things to fall into the background until a big event happens. How do you plan to maintain your regular road drainage systems without mapping and a maintenance plan?
Well, I didn't mention this, but I will. At the beginning of the creation of the stormwater utility, it was determined that the drainage system within the right-of-ways were the responsibility of Public Works, not the stormwater utility. Everything outside of the right-of-way was the stormwater utility. However, there are projects that incorporate into the right-of-way that we have to address at times, which we do. So to ask in terms of maintenance, those particular activities are usually a Public Works responsibility and not ours. If there is a facility that we build and or we implement will be responsible for the maintenance of those particular facilities.
Any other questions? Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you so much.
Good job.
Good, thank
All
you.
right. Item B, Juneteenth holiday, Mr. Kenny Gerbara.
Good evening, council. On page 71 of your packet, there's a memo for me regarding the Juneteenth holiday. This was tabled by council a couple of years ago. It was on the business list, and I was asked to bring it forward back to council again. If you notice in there, on page 72, it talks about the state holidays that the Kentucky personnel and employees receive. And it includes Juneteenth. But if you look at page 73, it talks about the state holidays and that was approved by the state legislature. And it is not considered a holiday. Well, our employee handbook on page 74 at the very top talks about we'll follow the holiday schedule adopted by state government. And after talking with Mr. Willen, it's a little gray on what that means. Do we include Juneteenth or do we not? That's why we brought it before council a couple of years ago, just because it was gray from that standpoint. And the reason I'm bringing it forward is if we want to look at doing Juneteenth, we need to change the verbiage in our handbook. One way or the other, just to make it a little bit more clear, a little bit more understanding on that. What's not in my memo is there's an estimated cost. The estimated cost would be about $134,000 for one holiday. Roughly 75 to 80% of our employees work a 24/7 operation in some format. And so when they would take a floating holiday off, which this would be, we would normally have to bring overtime in some of those departments to cover that. And I did ask our CFO where that money might come from. And her recommendation would be from prior year's revenue if we did that. I did want to mention on 75, I did add some cities that I did a survey with. And this is updated from a couple years ago on those that do provide that and the number of holidays they provide. And on the last page, some organizations eliminate one holiday and add another. And I wanted to see what our employees thought in that regard. And if you notice on that survey, 70% supported a Juneteenth paid holiday. But it went down to 15% if they were going to have to swap or eliminate a holiday that they currently have. And I just want to mention that and bring that to everybody's attention. And I am making a recommendation that we do consider Juneteenth as a paid holiday for employees. I do that for this reason. I think with our demographics in our city, we should be doing that. We should be leading the pack, not trailing behind, in my opinion. I know this is not the ideal time to do this, but I was requested to do that at this particular point in time. This would fall into this budget because Juneteenth would be at the end of this fiscal year. And I hope I didn't go too quickly on that, but if you have any questions, please let me know.
Kenny, our county partners, they recognize it, correct?
From my understanding, yes, they do.
Yeah, okay. I personally think it's time. Just my opinion, so.
I do too. I'll make a,
Several employees asked you about this, that reason I had Kenny go ahead and pull it back up and bring it back to us and talk about it. It is time.
I think it's time.
Move this forward.
And Kenny, you said the cost for the city for this one day would be
It'd
$134,000.
be estimated, yes.
But there would be no cost if you just swapped it with another holiday.
That would be correct.
Correct.
Okay.
Because the actual order at the state is for the executive branch. So that's the reason why it's not in the holiday calendars, because that's an executive branch that passed by the signing of the governor.
That is
It's
correct.
not all employees of the state get it. So just to be clear on.
I do believe the legislators, a majority of them do not recognize that.
Correct.
That's the reason we don't recognize.
Yeah, that's why we don't hear. I'm just, at $134,000, it seems like we should have this discussion as part of the budget discussion. So, I mean, I'm in favor of it becoming a holiday. I would think that it would either be that we address it next year at the next year's budget, or we swap it with a day. I mean, when I was an employee here, I'll take an extra holiday, but it drops all the way to 15%, and they're saying that they don't want to switch holidays.
Well, and that's why it's in that survey.
Yeah. No, it's interesting.
Because I believe that if our employees want to keep it the same at this time, I think that's, instead of taking away a holiday, I want us to take that into consideration also.
I think the holiday you considered was Christmas Eve. Is that kind
I
of?
believe New Year's Eve was
New
the, I
Year's
think New
Eve.
Year's Eve was the one that had the,
Yeah, New Year's Eve
That's
is the
tough
most.
too.
yeah, I believe New Year's Eve was the biggest one.
Yeah.
Yes, it was New Year's Eve. And Christmas Eve was next after that.
Okay.
And please understand, either way, if we decide to wait and do this next year, I'd leave the handbook the way it is, because we've already posted our current holiday schedule.
Gotcha.
If we decide we do not want to do it or swap holidays, I'll need to make changes to the employee handbook. And I'll bring that up at a later date.
I think it's time, but I don't know what to do as far as add another holiday or switch. I don't.
Comes a budget question. $134,000 to add a holiday?
That's estimated overtime, yes.
To fill in for people being out because of the police
Yes,
department.
to add a holiday, it's estimated $134,000.
And I'll start, I don't mind. The survey says employees don't want to switch days. I'm okay adding a holiday. I think it should have been part of the budget process. So with that, my motion would be to bring it back next year for part of the budget process. If we just need somewhere to start the discussion, I'll start it there.
Already a motion on the floor.
What was it? I'm sorry, I never heard one.
Oh, well, so there's not.
Yeah,
No.
I figured I'd make one, get the
Discussion.
conversation going if I needed to.
I'll second it.
All right, motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank.
You got one. Okay.
So the motion will be to wait till next
Yes, sir.
budget year.
And then
Thank
do
you.
the, yes, sir. Okay, item C, monthly agency board council appointee report, and that is me. In 2025, I served on 3 boards in the city, the Surface and Stormwater Utility Board that was just in here, the E911 Board, and the Ambulance Board. I served on those 3 boards since 2020. The decision was made by city administration to pull me off of that all boards in 26. And those 3 boards, I look forward to rejoining January 2027. So that's all on that. Item D, quarterly business list review. That's included in your packet. Does anybody see anything on that we need to change, talk about? Good, okay. Unfinished business, item 6A, Hopkinsville Solid Waste Enterprise, Melissa Clayton, Mr. Wendell Lynch, and Mr. Logan Askew. Tried to sit down, didn't you?
I tried. Good evening. Well, good evening. Thank you for letting us come back before you again, and it's really a pleasure. We were here a year ago. Some of you may remember that. And at that time, you all were very generous in the request we brought before you at that time. And at that time, we also had discussion about our ordinances, the need to make some changes, which included some adjustments to fees. We were just not ready at that time to do that. So we told you that we would step away from that and come back at a future date. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you for putting us back on the agenda. Along with me here today is members of our board, Ms. Natalie Adams, David Collins, Chuck Crabtree sits on our board. Our many members of our staff, Mr. Brian Silver and his staff are here. Our board attorney, Logan Askew, is here. I do want to acknowledge our recently outgoing board member, Mr. Lee Durden. He served on our board diligently for 12 years, made numerous contributions, so we thank her for that. But our purpose for being here tonight is to bring you an update basically over the last year, we have actually conducted a comprehensive study or analysis of Hopkinsville solid waste. Now, typically, this is done by outsourcing it to a third party who come in and send their team in and tear it apart and tell you what you got, give you recommendations, show you how that you can actually pay their fees through taking some of the recommendations. We couldn't afford to do that. That was the primary reason. But second reason was we really needed to have a more introspective look as a board into our operations. So we worked seamlessly for the last year, actually more than that, with our general manager and staff, because we really wanted to understand how to operate it so we can make real-time decisions and implement those decisions based on our knowledge and our confidence that we were moving in the right direction. So what we're bringing before you tonight are many of the things we uncovered in that process. This list is not complete. There are things we've done that were just too numerous to put on here. But as we roll into the presentation here, I'm going to kind of set it up, and then I will yield to Melissa, our CFO, who will actually talk about the financial journey and impact it's had, past, present, and what the future looks like. And then Ms. Logan Askew will talk about the ordinance changes. And in your package that you received in advance, you received actually a red line copy of our ordinances, which is really voluminous. I had Logan to actually reduce that to a summary, which is really an easy read and to understand. So I hope you had an opportunity to review those. We also included in that package the proposed rate changes that would be impacted by those recommendations and the before and after effect of those. And then finally, we put in a fee price comparison to our sister municipalities throughout the region who offer some of the same services. All of them offer the same, but those that do, we included those for your review and comparison as well. So if we roll the first slide here, do I have to do that? Okay, thank you. All right, roll it back to number one. All right, thank you very much. I'm gonna go through this really fast because my role is just kind of set it up, and then I'll let Melissa and Logan go from there. At the conclusion of this, we want you to ask questions. We'll answer those questions. Our hope is after we conclude this, that you will agree with us that we're on the right track and that we'll forward these recommendations for further action to City Council. First of all, we implemented a system, I just told you, a system review, which has been very board hands-on, something that most boards don't do. We've done that because we felt like we needed to have that knowledge and that information in order for us to make sound decisions and recommend those decisions back to you. Secondly, through that process last fall, we implemented a curbside recycling RFP to see if there was any third parties that would be willing to take on the curbside recycling. That's a very popular service to the city. Unfortunately, there were not any that was willing to do that. So we ended the curbside recycling for one principally good reason. That is because it was a deficit cost. It was costing us about $300,000 approximately a year to keep that service going, and it was just simply unsustainable. Item number 4, we have since implemented a plan to discontinue our lease equipment program. We studied that deeply, and we determined that that program was not sustainable for a whole lot of reasons, but we felt like the better choice was number 5, as you see on that list, and that was to implement a program to buy and own our own equipment. So we have already started doing that. It will take time to make that transition, but we have a plan in place, and we're working that plan as we speak. In addition to that, on number 6, we looked at operations. We modified our Saturday operation. It just wasn't getting enough utilization, and so we have discontinued 4 to 5 Saturdays a month of providing that service at the landfill, and we've gone back to just the second Saturday of each month. That is working fine, and our customers have recognized that, and they've adjusted to that. 7, we're currently in the process of transitioning our bulk items curbside pickup. That's where we come around and pick up couches and debris from your yard and so forth, from every week to twice monthly. This had a real economic impact, but at the same time, we're not doing away with the service. We'll continue that service. So far, the feedback from our customers has been positive. The schedules have gone out. They will continue to go out, but that won't be kicking in until 9/1 of this year. Item 8, in May of this year, we actually decided to see if we could outsource some additional services to cut our expenses. And we've developed a very extensive RSP process on a residential and commercial Buck Hall, in which we take to Beaver Dam and other landfills. We got 3 very competitive bids on that, but unfortunately, they were all significantly higher than our cost of providing that service to ourselves. So we will continue to do that at this time, but that is something on our radar that we'll continue to look at in the future. Item 9 on there is we changed our budget process this year. It's probably the only year we have to do it, but I felt like that the board really, we had a process similar to the city council where the administration there puts together a budget and then brings it to the legislatures, and then y'all look it over and y'all make changes. But I felt like this year we need to do it together. So we basically formed a committee as a whole, and over a 6 to 8 week process, we met every week, once a week, and we went through that budget process. So everybody was a part of the decision making, of the deliberations, and when we got through that process, we were very pleased with the budget, and Melissa will talk a little bit more about that. But we felt like it was time for us to be more involved in that process. Item 10 on here, we significantly have reduced our operating overhead over the last 12 to 18 months. When I say significantly, it's basically reflected in our staffing. We've gone from 52 FTEs budgeted to 42, and actually only have 38 on hand right now. So we're really taking a very introspective look at our cost. Labor is always your highest cost, and we made some real inroads in that area. Item 11, Logan asked you to review those, but part of this process was driven by our need to review all of our ordinances and make them current and up to date and make them responsive to how we operate the landfill right now. And then finally, item 12, we've told you that we need to expand the landfill. Our consultant engineers, as recent as this last 30 days in the report they provided to us, have told us that the current cell which we're using has a lifespan of less than 3 years. So we're in the process of moving forward to expand that landfill and extend that life. They gave us a couple of different options. The cost is about $4.3 million. In today's dollars, that may go up. The timeline is really accelerated. They've indicated to us that probably by first quarter or second quarter next year at the latest, we need to have it designed and be prepared to go out to bid and start construction on that by the end of next year, or very shortly thereafter. So we are aggressively pursuing that. And the revenues, which we're hoping that you will approve for us in this recommendation and the ordinance changes, will help to support and create the opportunity for us to be able to afford that and many other impacts associated with that. And then finally, item 13, we're doing all this without any changes to our residential rate customers. We have had changes in those rates within the last 3 to 5 years, but for commercial and industrial, we haven't in over 15 years. So we decided to not have any impact on our residential customers, to really focus on those that we have not changed. If you compare it to the rates of our other sister municipalities, we're not trying to catch up with them. We have made some adjustments that helps us to overcome our revenue shortfalls, but it will take more time than just right now to adjust our rates to be in line with our sister municipalities in the region. So we've made some adjustments we think are realistic for right now, and they will have to help us to meet our objectives going forward. So with that, I'm going to pause and let Melissa Clayton come up to the podium, and she will talk more specifically about our journey as far as our finances are concerned.
Okay, so my thought process in bringing this presentation to you guys tonight is to kind of let you see where we are, let you see where we're going, and then what we need to get there. So first of all, I wanted to show you the last 2 years' revenue. Our revenues are stable and steady. We did have a small decrease in our revenue, and I relate most of that to the elimination of the recycling program. So the decrease in revenues. And then I did an expense comparison. Our expense went down by 8.59%. So expenses in June 25, $10,765,000 to our expenses June of 26, $9,839,000. So when we look at our comparisons of our net operating loss versus our net operating income, last year we had a loss, a $432,000 loss, and this year we had a surplus. $374,000 surplus. That's a swing of around $806,000. So what changed between 25 and 26? So here's our approximate savings. Because we did recycling 3/4 of the year, we only did it, the first quarter. It saved us approximately $265,000. We're currently not budgeting for an assistant general manager. That saves about $150,000 a year. We had budgeted that before. Last year, we did not budget for a landfill manager. And then if you guys remember, y'all, when we were here last July, you guys forgave the pilot, and that saved us around $420,000 a year. So because of these are the main big ones, there are always ebbs and flows in the budget. Gas is way high, and then so we have to cut other places. What I think I want you guys to know is that this staff and this board are working hard to save as much money as possible. So that we're doing everything that we can to keep solid waste afloat, okay? So I want to show you our cash fund balance. We started the year June 30th of 2025 with $421,000 in the bank, okay? Plus our year-to-date receipts minus our year-to-date expenses gave us our cash fund balance June 30, $795,152. One of the big numbers we've been comparing on the board is how many days operating cash is that on hand? We had 15 days of operating cash last June, and we have 29 this June. That's a big difference. So we also have a capital fund. We started the year with $1,274,615. And the reason we had that much in our capital fund last year was that we had sold some trucks and we hadn't paid them off. We sold them in June. We had to pay them off in July. So that money kind of carried over into this year. We paid those trucks off. You can see that expense. And then we ended our capital fund had $18,000 in it June 30 of this year. We also have a landfill closure fund. We've been putting $60,000 a year in that fund for a few years. It's not very much, but it is something. And so our combined cash fund balance total in all of our funds, $1,734,309. That percentage to our operating budget is 16.98%. In our financial policy that their board adopted, we would like to have a reserve in the operating fund of all of our reserves of at least 20% of our operating budget. So we aren't there yet, but we are a whole lot closer this year than we were this time last year. So we are making progress. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the 2026, 2027 changes. Mayor Lynch talked about them already, but some of them. So the change in the bulk item pickup to every other week is going to save us a lot of money. There's a true financial impact to that. We will sell 2 knuckle boom trucks. Right now, we currently own 4. We're going to be able to get rid of 2 of those when we downsize. We again in 26, 27 are not budgeting for that assistant general manager position. That decision is not long-term and we can't do that every year. Eventually, we're going to have to budget this position, right? We're going from 5 roll-off trucks down to 4 roll-off trucks. So we are going to sell a roll-off truck and not have another one. So that's a significant change. We also talked about, we budgeted 52 positions was in fiscal year 24, 25. In 25, 26, we budgeted 48. And next year, we only budgeted 42 positions. So we are budgeting lower amounts, and then only opening one Saturday a month saves us lots of money as well. So exiting the lease program, okay? We are in the process. It's going to take a year. So we executed the first 5-year lease in May of this year. It has 6 trucks on it. And we need to execute the next 6-truck lease this fall. Those are the ones you guys already approved. There were 8 trucks on that list. We're going to refinance them, and then we're getting rid of some of the trucks. So we're selling 4 trucks and not replacing them. And then we have 3 trucks left that we're going to have to do in the spring of 27, where we get them on a 5-year lease. it's the recommendation of management that we will still replace the side loads and front loads frequently, but they're not going to be in the 18-month process where we have that time crunch and that where we have to do it in this time because our lease is only 18 months and it puts a lot of pressure. It's going to be a 5-year lease, and when we sell, we will have paid some of the principal when we sell those. But they have mechanical arms and all that. I'm not a truck person, by the way, but they have mechanical arms and stuff that wear out a lot, and so we're still going to have to get those trucks more frequently than we will some of the other trucks. All right, so let me talk a little bit about the landfill closure. This is a page in the city's audit. This is our audit. We take responsibility for the landfill in our audit. And in this document, there are lots of different things. I can send you guys the whole page if you want to see it at some point. But I want you to see this main line at the bottom. As of June 30, 2025, the total amount of closure and post-closure costs are estimated to be $11 million. We've recognized about $8 million. So current estimate is that in the blue box up there, $8,512,194. We've recognized that. That's what we should have in our landfill closure account. We have what I showed you guys earlier, $400,000, right? We're not close to what we need in our landfill closure. We've saved $496,000 for landfill closure, and we should have closer to $8 million. With our current revenues and our current expenses, we're never going to get there. And that's part of the reason we're asking for the change. Not only that, you heard us talk about how we're going to have to do another expansion. Okay, they are working with engineers. They did a presentation to the board. If you guys want to see all this stuff, we're happy to send it to you. We didn't want to overwhelm you too much. It's a lot. It's a lot to go and understand. So we are going to have to do an expansion within the next 3 to 5 years. Okay, there are currently 3 estimates on the table. One is called Phase 3A, and if we only do the smallest portion, it would cost $1,513,000. If we do all of Phase 3, it's $4,607,000. And then if we do what's called a contained MSW, it would cost $10,067,000. We have $0 saved for a landfill expansion. So that is another project on our plate that this board is trying to deal with, and we're trying to deal with our current revenues and our current expenses, and we are not going to have enough money for either one of these projects. So that is the reason for the ordinance changes, and I'm going to break right there and let Logan Askew come up and talk to you guys about all the ordinance changes. He's the one who's really...
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. The proposed ordinance changes are in Chapter 93. Not all Chapter 93 has to do with solid waste. Some of it has to do with property and codes. And so you're going to see there are a lot of definitions in here that really don't address that section of the ordinance. There are quite a few lines on what you received in your packet. That's the way we have to do it for you all to consider it. But really, there are some changes that go throughout. For example, we've eliminated the definition of trash and made that green waste. So that's one change you'll see throughout. Another change is to try to make sure we're addressing all different types of waste that would be handled by solid waste. A pretty significant change has to do with temporary collection. This provision has been in the ordinance for a while, and that's where a private provider can, with a permit, come in and collect waste within the city limits. There was never a permit fee, and that really hasn't been followed very closely. And so I think we have quite a few folks, as I understand it, may be providing some service that we're unaware of. All of the waste generated within the city under the flow control ordinance is supposed to be handled by the enterprise. So what is being proposed is that we have a permit for all containers by third parties And there will be a permit for each container at each location. And instead of charging a permit fee, there will be a charge either at the landfill or the transfer station of $25, just a flat fee. It'll make it easier for us to keep up with who's permitted and who's not. And we don't have to work on the front end with issuing, collecting fees for permits. Going into the rest of the ordinance, you all may have recently seen there was a release about we've had a problem with Herbie Kirby's and all trash not being inside the Herbie Kirby's. Provision in the ordinance for some time that says that unless that all the contents are in there with the lid closed, you're not another Herbie Kirby. And so we're starting to enforce that now, and people can get a second Herbie Kirby or more. Instead of being $25, it would be an additional Herbie Kirby would be $18. We're changing the time for putting out containers from 7 in the morning to 5. That's to accommodate the folks that work at solid waste, particularly during the summer hours when it's extremely hot during the day. Another change that we have is with respect to leaf collection. Other than when leaves are picked up by the enterprise, leaves will be bagged. So there will be a designated time, as there is now, where solid waste will go around and pick up the leaves. There is a change in the ordinance which deals with the transfer station, which has been, it's been mentioned, but hasn't really been talked about in the ordinance. So we've amended the ordinance to include that. And there are also some fees that are specific to the transfer ordinance. Transfer station, excuse me. As has been mentioned, there are no changes to the residential rates, only changes to the commercial rates. We'll talk about that in just a second. The landfill disposal fee is adjusted from $40 a ton to $60 a ton. The transfer station fee from $45 to $65. The volume discount is eliminated. Right now, there's a graduated scale, and depending upon how many tons you're taking out there, you get charged. And it's like 0 to 100, and I can't remember the exact way. It's a graduated scale. We are eliminating the volume discounts. One thing that is now mentioned in the ordinance that has been charged but has not mentioned previously is a fee. They call it the ERF fee, that the state does based on the amount of waste that we handle. That is a pass-through for the enterprise. It's $1.75 a ton now. And so the fees that you see, just like the fees that are in the current ordinance, will include that $1.75. We're making a specific provision for it now. We are also adding fees for disposal of mattresses, box springs, and tires. I think you've seen that, and we have not had that previously. If we could go to the next slide. Yes, these are the rate changes, and this was in your packet. And so I think you see what those changes are. Some of those I just mentioned. And if you will look also in your packet, Wendell and Melissa both mentioned the rates charged by other municipalities. What you'll see is that these rates are very, it's page 33, okay. Thank you, in your packet. But it's, you'll see that these rates are very, very favorable in terms of comparison with the rates these other municipalities are charging. And I believe that is the extent of my remarks there.
We'd be happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
Yeah. Reference to the ordinance changes. What is the projected revenue increase from just the changes in the ordinances that are recommended for a year?
was about $2 million.
just off of these changes
Yes.
Per year.
I want to also make a comment real quick. Explain to me the leaf thing. I don't like the idea of them having to be bagged versus just being down. A lot of people I know both, especially elderly, that I understand that can be a problem and sweep up. But explain to me why it's such a cost.
It's gonna save a lot of money, because usually
Microphone.
we're making one,
Come on.
two passes through town.
You gotta get on the mic, brother.
All right, usually we're making 2 passes through town every year. What we're proposing is to make 1 pass through town with the actual leaf trucks. Those don't have to be bagged. So nothing's gonna change there. If people miss that date, miss that time and don't have their leaves out for that 1 pass through town, then yes, then they would have to bag those and get them collected off by the knuckle truck.
So I guess it would be then people mowing their yard that have a bagger that typically would dump it out there. We're saying
Yes.
we won't do nothing with that now.
No, they'll still get their leaves picked up with our vacuum trucks. We come through, we make 2 entire passes through the city, every year.
Every year, but I meant throughout the summer or throughout mowing season, if they're just mowing their yard or anything, it would just be that one time. Is that what I'm understanding? Or the grass clippings?
Yeah,
anything?
we still pick up their grass clippings it'll just be every other week instead of every week.
Are you saying the first time the vacuum truck will pick it up, but the second time they have to be bagged? Is that what you're saying?
Well, this is 2 separate things.
Okay.
The leaves we do every fall where we have 2 vacuum trucks that we go through the city with.
Okay.
We make 2 entire passes through the city collecting leaves in the fall of the year.
Okay.
And that's what we're talking about. The regular lawn clippings and stuff like that won't change.
Gotcha. Okay. Yes, sir.
For the areas that are very wooded, let's say, nature in the past couple of years has been late letting the leaves come down off the trees.
It has.
And when they come around to vacuum, there's nothing down there.
They're still on the
to
tree.
vacuum. They're still on the trees.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Yeah, usually when we make these 2 passes through town, we start pretty early because it takes a long time. And really, we're trying to beat the snow because once we get the snow and ice out, that can't get mixed up with the leaves and go into the machines. So we try to make that early start. With just making 1 pass through the city, we're just gonna have to time that and watch those areas. So when the bulk of the leaves are off, that's when we'll start the collection. So it won't actually start, we won't be starting in say November.
On Halloween.
The leaves are coming off in December.
Correct.
Some years.
All right.
And it'll depend on the year too.
I'm sure the residents will appreciate that, especially the ones that have a lot of trees in their properties.
Oh, absolutely.
But there's
Like
more than
the Like the Velezes.
You said 2 passes a year typically, or during that season?
Yes, we usually make 2 passes, but we're gonna cut that down to 1. And during that time, we won't be running our knuckle boom trucks. We'll have all hands on deck on leaves, and we're just gonna try to knock that 1 pass out as fast as we can, so we can get back on knuckle booms.
Next thing, I guess, all right, thank you, Brian. The ERF fee passed down. Is this also, is this business and industry, or is this ultimately residents also? The $1.75, which is the ERF fee?
So the ERF fee, that's everything, everybody, as far as anything that comes out to the landfill, it doesn't matter who brings it out there. There's an ERF fee on every ton that comes out there.
Excuse me just 1 second. That charge is incorporated into $25.
Okay.
There's no additional charges
Okay.
there on that, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Gotcha. Yes. No?
Mr. Chairman, of course, we have an answer, though, we really appreciate the time spent. The time sensitive tonight, but we want to be sure any questions you have, we address those this evening.
Further questions?
Well, thank you very much.
Have a proposal.
I'd like to, I guess he's going to make that. I'd like to make a motion to move this on to council for full consideration.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
I would like to mention, Travis,
Yes, sir.
I'm on this board, and garbage is a different animal.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of nuances to it that I had no clue. The board, the staff, and the management, they really had a lot of hurdles that they didn't bring on themselves. And they have worked diligently. They've spent a lot of time, a lot of thought, a lot of collaboration to get to the point where they need to be. At the end of the day, the city owns the trash. City council, we own it. But this board has worked extremely hard. The people worked extremely hard. And you can see by the number of employees that they have in the reductions, that, they've all worked together. So kudos to you all, and let's keep it on. I appreciate your help.
All right, item B, opioid trust fund grant program guidelines, and we'll just open this up to the floor. And anybody want to speak? Yes, ma'am, go for it.
As many of you know, Hopkinsville began receiving funds in December 2022 after the city opted into statewide opiate settlement agreement in 2021. Since then, we have received annual payments, and as of March of this year, we have a settlement account or trust that has approximately $700,000. These funds were not given to us casually. They were given because Hopkinsville, like communities across Kentucky, has been devastated by opiate addiction, overdose, and loss. We cannot ignore the reality of what our community is facing. If Hopkinsville is experiencing an average of 10 overdoses per week, then from December 2022 to today, which is roughly 186 weeks, that means we have estimated about 1,860 overdoses in our city during the time period that we have been receiving settlement funds. This is in adults and children. That number is not abstract. Those are our neighbors, our families, our community members, and our coworkers. These funds were created for one purpose: to save lives, to prevent overdoses, to expand treatment, to support recovery, to reduce harm, and to give communities like ours the ability to respond with urgency, compassion, and evidence-based solutions. We cannot afford to delay. We cannot afford to be careless. We cannot afford to wait at the beginning of the year. And we cannot afford to make decisions without council participation. Hopkinsville has over 20 treatment centers. Some of these treatment centers include Grace and Mercy, Pennyroyal Center, Redeemed and Restored, Genesis East, Genesis West, Trilogy, Arc to Peace, Courage House, Jeremiah Mission, Saving Grace, Oxford House, Sparrow Health, Mountain Comp, Hope Clinic, Pennyroyal Center, ROH Housing, Empowered Minds, Cumberland Hall, Pinnacle Treatment, SUD Crisis, Community Counseling Center, and West Kentucky Drug and Alcohol Intervention Services. Our city is the only city in the state of Kentucky that serves all 4 specialty courts: a mental health court, a juvenile drug court, 2 adult drug courts, and a veterans court. Our responsibility is to the people of Hopkinsville, to the families who have lost loved ones, to the individuals fighting addictions, to the children growing up in homes negatively impacted by substance use, and to the future of this city. Tonight, I am asking this council to move forward thoughtfully and urgently. We must release these funds in a way that reflects the severity of the crisis and the needs of our community. We must ensure that every dollar is used for prevention, treatment, recovery, and harmful reduction, exactly as the law requires. And we must commit to working together. Hopkinsville deserves better, Hopkinsville deserves leadership, and Hopkinsville deserves action. What we are currently doing now and how we are operating is not serving this community. Holding on to funds for 6 years that will save lives is showing the lack of empathy and understanding and compassion for this community. We do not have a needle exchange program, and we only have one public Narcan station. Does anybody know where that's at?
Your house.
It's at my house on my front porch. I have heard over and over and over, we do not know how to utilize this funding, and we are scared to use this funding. With all of this being said, I have printed off the KRS code, and I believe I have put one in front of all of you. Does everyone have one? And I have had several experts and educated individuals come and speak from different treatment centers, juvenile drug court, and Lauren Carr, the appointed opioid abatement settlement funding advisor, and here we are creating committees, terminating committees, and creating committees. And I know that tonight that we were discussing creating a committee again. Is that what we were doing? Is that what we discussed last time?
I think we talked about using future funding, I believe, but everything's on the table.
Okay. I would also like to see if we can change the guidelines to the exact verbiage of the KRS 115.291. I've talked to Doug about this already.
Yeah, and what you've referenced is the co-occurring mental illness.
Yes.
And after our discussion just a few minutes ago, I've looked at this closer. It is referenced, all of the statutes, KRS 15.291 is incorporated in the guidelines. If you look at the second page, second bullet point, that the awardees must adhere to all statutory and regulatory requirements, and specifically references KRS 15.291. So that's already included in the guidelines. These guidelines were actually approved on July 7th. And it's my understanding that there may have been some discussion of making amendments. So that's what's on the agenda tonight.
Right.
But certainly if that's the request that you wanted to make would be to clarify the co-occurring mental illness, use the reference that the statute uses. I don't have a problem with that. I'll just state that this application, I believe, was, I won't say stolen, but it was borrowed from the state application. So it should be consistent with the statutes.
Yes.
That's definitely the intent.
I just don't want it to accidentally ban or regulate things that the state has already protected.
Well, it's gonna be consistent with all of those statutes that are in the guidelines.
Covered.
So can I make a motion to adopt our guidelines, the exact verbiage used in the KRS 15.291?
And it's my understanding you just want to use on the third bullet point under population of focus, you want to have paren SUD/MH.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that is the language that's in the statute specifically.
Yes, and I've set one in.
I don't think it's going to hurt anything. I don't think it's required, but it's certainly, if that's the decision, we can make that change.
I'll second.
Before, hold on one second.
Yes, sir.
Like, the discussion that originally brought this back, I think, was to talk about changing the amount.
The amount, the one
So
time.
if we're going to make a motion to change and update this and accept it, do we need to do that?
I would take these one at a time.
Okay.
Okay.
Make sure.
All right, so there's a motion and a second on the floor. Any further comments, questions about that? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, next. Like we were
I
talking
think it
about,
was, yeah, I don't remember what it was. I don't even know who made
Yeah.
the motion. It was changing the award ceiling.
The award ceiling.
15,000. I don't remember where the
I
conversation.
think we doubled it, or 30 or 35,000.
I think we talked about 35,000.
Yeah.
Right, 35,000's been talked about it.
I think so, yeah. You gonna make that motion too?
I would like to make the motion to raise the ceiling on the funding to 35,000.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And Melissa, the application process, I know you're working on the application. Where are we at? You're done, right?
I'm so done. I need the final guidelines
Okay.
to finish the application. So, waiting on these.
Okay. So is there any more changes?
Changes, I'm just gonna kind of piggyback off what Brittany said real quick, if you don't care, just because I know the KRS is confusing to some people. You're not used to reading it. Doug, by all means, if I screw this up, jump in. Basically, what Councilman Bogart was wanting to make sure is when you read it at firsthand, it almost seems like you can only use it for opioid abuse issues. But that also expands the mental health issues and problems that it could have came as a result of. So it actually opens it up a lot more for entities that came in here and spoke, for example, to be able to qualify for those funds. I think it's the simple term.
That's the co-occurring mental illness. That's what that refers to, correct?
Okay. Everybody's good with it now? Final. So we need to send this back to council. We need a motion to send this back to council as amended.
Second.
All right, motion and second. Any further discussion on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Deal. That passes. Item C, Bluegrass Splash Family Aquatic Center, Mr. Toby Hudson. Come on down. All great.
We got it there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Last meeting, you guys requested a survey be presented to the community to go out, and we've done that. We run a 14-day survey from June 29th to July 12th. And we received 1,895 responses within that 14 days, with 918 of them being from the city of Hopkinsville residents. The second slide there, that slide, no, back one, that slide right there. 48% were city of Hopkinsville residents. 29% of those were Christian County residents outside of the city limits, and 8% were outside of Christian County. And then another note there on slide 2 was 50% are age 25 to 44. 50% of those responses were ages 25 to 44. Slide 3, the next slide. 80% visit Hopkinsville parks at least several times each year. 27% of those were weekly. 19% were monthly, and 34% were several times per year. With some of the most visited amenities there, you'll see were special events at 52.5 and your playgrounds at 51.2. Then we get into slide number 4, which is where it was leading for aquatic recreation. 80% of those that responded support continuing a water park or aquatic center, with 79% confirmed city residents also support a continuing aquatic recreation. Slide 5, build versus renovate. You have 76% preferred building a new aquatic facility compared to 24 who prefer renovating the existing facility. Slide number 6, there we go. With the top requests, so we asked the question, what would you add if you had to add? And these were the top. I'll read the top 3. The top 3 there were 75% voted for a longer lazy river. 71% was improved shade and seating, and 68% was a wave pool to be added. 58%, you can note there that 58% was the indoor aquatic facility to add as a feature. Slide number 7 there. I'm going through this a little quick, but 66% would attend an indoor aquatic facility year-round if it was offered. If the Bluegrass Splash, if the city chose not to invest in a water park, where would they want the money? Indoor pool, 43% prefer a larger indoor pool. 21% was splash pad. You have 14% with other, which was a write-in. I've got a few top write-ins there. I'll say one was community centers, add of a community center, add of an indoor gaming facility, which would be an option. And then the third one there, the top three that were there were pickleball courts. Those were your top three, and the 14% of other. 11% was an event venue, an amphitheater, 6% a new park, and 6% was to sell the property. So slide 8 is the number one priority. What was the number one priority of recreation priorities? And that is by far 56.5% aquatic. Aquatic facilities is the number one priority by the residents that submitted this survey. Number 2 was trails and greenways at 11.9%. And number 3 was playgrounds and families at 10.9, which gives an average ranking. The highest ranking, the lower number is the higher priority. So at 2.2, which was aquatics, was what they rank aquatics for our community. Slide 9 is kind of a comparison between all responses and city responses. Continue aquatic recreation. Overall, I'm going to just go through overalls. Overall was 80.1%, was to continue aquatic recreation. To build new was 75%. The use of the indoor facility was 65.5%. Rank aquatics number 1 was 56.5%. And an indoor pool, if no water park was built, was 42.7%, which you're right in between 1 to 4 points, which is a pretty decent comparison there. If you move to the next slide, this is some of the comments. These are write-in comments, why to keep it and why not. I'm going to highlight the top one, and you can read the rest there. 476 said that kids and families need activities in the city of Hopkinsville. That was by far the number one for why do we keep it. You also see others there, 201 summer recreation, 186 quality of life, and 115 residents travel elsewhere for swimming. So why not? Why not? The top one was cost to taxpayers, 133. It almost doubled itself there. The second one was construction and maintenance concerns, and 28 prefer other priorities. Slide number 11 is future recreation needs. Most mentioned missing amenities. 288 voted pools, aquatics, and splash pads. 192 there were youth and teen activities. 149 was indoor recreation or a community center. And then 73 was for sports fields and courts. 73 tied again there for event venue and amphitheater. 59 trails and sidewalks, 52 for pickleball. If aquatic recreation is not pursued, preferred alternatives. 49% said an indoor pool. 39% said neighborhood splash pads. And 29% said youth activity center. 28 at the amphitheater, and 24 for a zip line, an adventure course. Wow. So what does all this come together to mean? I think there are 3 things that we can look at here. Out of the 1,895 total responses, 80% support continuing aquatic recreation. 76% favor building a new aquatic center. 66% would use an indoor aquatic facility year-round. And 57% rank aquatics as the city's highest recreation priority. These city and county responses were almost identical. Yeah. I mean, it was almost identical. You have 918 city, and you had 977 from the county or out of the city limits. So that is kind of a summary, a brief, very quick summary of what you have. I'll be more than glad to answer any questions. I do want to thank the mayor's office for their support in getting this survey out and getting it together. I'd also like to thank Ms. Amanda Brunt for her help with this. It was a team effort to get this together, and I appreciate all their help that they've done for it. So with that, I'll have any questions that you may have.
Questions?
I do
Lots of
have a
questions, yeah.
question. Have you done any studies or ran across any studies that when a water park is done correctly,
Mhm.
what is the lifespan and then the maintenance cost on that facility to keep it up and running?
I have not myself. Mike, I would refer to public
It was-
as far as the maintenance side, but I have not myself.
It was clearly poorly constructed from day one. I mean,
Yes.
and that's nobody's fault in this room. I mean, that's just,
From what I've learned over the years, the life expectancy of a water park is 25 to 30 years. If you're going to maintain it correctly, you're looking, of course, depending on what size your facility is, but you're probably looking at doubling, if not tripling, what our budget has been in the past. So we're looking for aquatic center the size we have right now. You're looking at increasing your maintenance budget by about 125,000 or so to do it correctly. That's per year.
So just as a follow-up, were there any studies on the longevity, the maintenance costs being more or less if it was an outdoor facility versus an indoor facility?
Well, it'll be more outdoor because you have outside elements of weather, UV rays, things like that that deteriorate slides, pool liners, things like that. So yes, outside will cost you a whole lot more than inside. It's probably close to double outside versus inside.
Okay.
I'll tell you, I had a conversation with an employee, with a city employee, and it rhymes with Mike Perry. We talked about a large indoor pool. We were trying to figure out something to get, subscription, like to where you could just use it year round. And I was kind of shocked at what that, we were thinking a water park, a decent sized water park is $20 million. I mean,
From WTI, which is Water Technology Incorporation, they give us a quote for what we have right now between 20 and 25 $1 million.
and we clearly, we can't do that. But we talked about that indoor pool, Olympic sized pool, with a dome or something over top of it. And I asked him, could we do something like that for 10 million? And he kind of thought it could be actually a little cheaper than that.
Yeah, I think you're looking at about 2 million, if not a little less than that.
So, and to me, that bites off that's a baby step. So could we add to it in the future? Yeah, I think so. But that's something we could use year round, sell subscriptions or memberships so I was kind of shocked when that cost got thrown out there.
You'll solve your seniors with their rotor
Right,
aerobics and things
right,
like that,
right.
that we can call it on everybody about.
And I mean, we could actually maybe make a larger pad on one end and put some pickleball courts in or something. There's lots of options there with I mean, $2 million is a lot of money, but it's not $20 million.
Right.
So I think something like that, in my mind, that's kind of where I went as a feasible option. Just me. Yes, sir.
So, as you all have looked, if you decided, or as the group decided, that the direction we wanted to go was with a pool of some type, would it make sense to move that pool to the sportsplex and build it there, just from a standpoint of management, staffing?
Good.
Yeah, I mean, I would recommend a different location, and the Sportsplex would be my number one location, in my opinion. Of course, we would probably have to look at buying additional land, because we're pretty much locked in where we're at and with parking lots. So if we expand out there, we'd have to buy a little bit of that farmland out there to be able to do that.
And also, if we're going to expand the sportsplex itself.
Yeah, you're gonna have to do it anyway.
Go ahead and just be thinking of that already.
Right.
So we incorporate it all at once.
Do we have a number for the demo cost of the current water park?
Chuck will do it.
$100,000.
Got a bulldozer.
Mike
Dozer's got it.
What's your question again?
How much to demo the water
How much
park?
is the demo?
Oh, how
for
the
current one?
demo, I didn't catch the demo part. Well, what I would recommend, what you do is you surplus the equipment that you have and let them come take it down. Make sure they're insured and so forth and all when they come take it down. Slides, spray structure, then the rest of it you would bulldoze down. I'm gonna say you're probably close to 100 to 125,000, something like
Not
that.
bad. Terrible.
And then move to the
Yeah.
Sportsplex indoor water park and build on to that, something we already have, but add a water. I mean, it's something to go on that's not $20 million.
Yeah, right.
Well, and I think at the Bluegrass Splash now, what you'd be looking at, you got nice buildings still there, they're still in good shape, restrooms, concessions, so forth. You could repurpose that facility, whatever this council would decide to do that. But I think you could put something else out there from a recreational side, and utilize them buildings instead of demo, that's not, because that price is not counting demo, the buildings then.
Middle ground. Could we do the indoor pool at the Sportsplex and then a splash pad there?
That's a possibility.
I mean, because then you're meeting the needs of a bunch of different groups, and there was several suggestions, and I mean, it's just a middle ground.
Of course, I recommend if you do a true splash pad, you do what they call source water, where you don't treat it. It's actually water comes through the tap, and it's push button style, where you push button features. Yeah. And then it automatically shuts off after 2-3 minutes, whatever you put the timer on.
I believe, isn't that what Clarksville has and what Post has?
Probably.
Fort Campbell?
Probably.
I know Fort Campbell does.
But that cuts your cost down if you do that.
All right, next step. What's next step?
Well, next step is I need to know what direction to go and all, then we can.
Which way you want us to do this?
I don't know. I'd like to go the most economical route. I mean, that's just me.
Because whatever the council decides to do.
Would be great for the community.
I think it's a good start
It
too.
is a start.
And we can build around it to come
Two. But now, if council wants us to gather some dollars
I think
on
so.
this, some budget on this and what's gonna cost, then we
I
can
think
back
so.
it.
I think so.
But tell me what you want us to get cost on, then we'll go through the process.
The Olympic style pool with the roof, something under roof, and then maybe the extended patio for pickleball or something like that. Okay.
Are we talking like a pool with diving boards or a slide or anything? Like,
Olympic size.
I mean, if it's an Olympic sized pool, I feel like we could have like at least some, slide or something, just.
Yeah, I think that's definitely doable.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. Anything else?
Can we price a splash pad where the current water park is?
We have a splash pad in our 5-year capital plan. Of course, it's probably not near as big what we want to put in there, but we're looking at about 1 million just for a smaller splash pad. But if you want to go to more of a source water with more features, you probably, I hate to give you a guess on it, but 2.5-3 million, something like that. If you do it right.
We could be 5 or 6 and have
But
both.
it'd still be under 10 million for
It's still
both.
under 10 million.
I don't know. When you put it that way, 10 million, under 10 million for both.
Use the difference, expand it to sports play.
Sure. Yeah,
I like that idea.
I like it.
All right, we'll get some numbers together and bring it back to you.
Give you something to do. All right, thank you. All right, let's see what's next. Item A, assistance to firefighters grant. And Mrs.
It's me again. We apply for the Assistance to Firefighters Grant every year. We haven't had a lot of luck with it, but we're going to try again. I'm hopeful this time. We have a good project. We did a little research about writing it. So hopefully it works. The firefighters picked for their project self-contained breathing apparatuses and units. And so we just need permission to apply for this grant.
Okay.
Motion.
Second. All right. Further comments on this? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
All right. Item 8, other. Does anybody have anything to bring up under other? All good? Everybody good? All right. Item 9, adjourn. We just need a motion. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
One of the meetings, just so you